What are the six senses of creativity? In this episode of What's Possible, we explore what the potential sixth sense of creativity is with Harryson Salcedo. And we dive deep into how the five senses weave their way into every piece of work you create. So Harrison, you are a multi-talented, multidisciplinary creative. You do everything, I feel like, from what I've heard from you. So you do painting, you do music, you do film, you do graphic design, you do social media. You've touched almost every single creative field there is, I feel like.
Yes, sir. Yeah. I have this quote that I have from a friend. He says, my special ability is to be mediocre at a lot of things. So shout out to Nagib Nasser. But yeah, I do a lot of things.
Yeah, so you don't want to be just a one-trick pony is what it sounds like.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
I try to be.
So kind of start off, give us the entire scope of exactly what you do and start by defining your work, I guess.
Man, my work is pretty broad. I make music. I've been making music for a long time. I've been playing the guitar since I was 9. Graphic design as well. I have a background in film. I took 4 years of film in high school, freshman year of college, and then switched to graphic design. But I'll describe my work as unique in a way, but also refreshing to where I just come up with something different things every time my work, there's a concept always, but you can see the progression, all of them, For sure.
Yeah. So with all the different work that you do, the big ones being graphic design probably and music, how does that relationship overlap with all of these different fields that you go into?
Yeah, that's a great question. We were talking, backstage that when I work, I try to I base my work around a feeling in general, which we'll talk about that in my magazine. But there's a specific feeling I like to transmit through my work, and it's nostalgia. So you can hear it on my music. You can see it on my graphic design. I go for the vintage. I go for the things that make you remember stuff and make you appreciate them as well.
For sure.
So that's my concept on all my work.
Yeah.
No, we were listening to one of your songs when we were writing this episode. And
which one?
City Rhythm.
And it definitely felt like a memory.
Yeah,
it felt like what would play in like a movie.
Yeah,
it was a flashback.
It was very like a cinematic feeling song is how I described it. It was like,
appreciate it. That was the whole concept too. At the beginning, there's like a sample of like the sounds of cars and stuff like that.
Yeah, for sure.
That was the concept to remind people like, oh, we see this every day. We don't even notice. But it's beautiful to me. Like I find beauty in everything. And yeah, that was the inspiration behind that song that you guys mentioned.
Yeah, no, it was a great song.
Yeah. So when you do create, is there a certain passion that gets priority, or what do you seem to gravitate towards prioritizing?
Music, for some reason. I mean, I see graphic design as my career, but music is my passion because I grew up with it, and my dad plays the guitar. He's been playing the guitar his whole life as well, and I think the best thing I got from him was music, and yeah, it's just been with me my whole life. So yeah, music is important for me. Yeah.
No, for sure.
So when we were talking, before we did this episode, a big thing about your creative philosophy that I found was that you really lean into this idea of all 5 of the human senses influencing and kind of inspiring your creative work. So
yes, sir.
I think you really define it well in a project that you sent me, which is called Senses, and it's a magazine project. So, you kind of laid this idea out in this magazine. Explain to us what this concept is.
Yeah, so I created, for some context, I created this magazine. The concept was that artists use all their senses to find inspiration. So whether that's smells, whether that's hearing a really good song that you like, or anything, or like a bird in the morning, every single thing that you feel and you hear, you see, you taste, like really good ice cream, whatever. Yeah, you can find inspiration through that. And so it made me create this magazine, which I want to publish it at some point. But yeah, you see in the magazine that for example, taste. You see there's sweet, there's salty, there's sour. They all have different how do you say this? Like a different feeling to them. You can associate sweet with sadness. Maybe you can associate sour with angry and stuff like that. So I wanted to touch on that magazine, and it turned out pretty good.
Yeah, for sure. I like how, because it's such an abstract kind of concept to think about how all these senses go into inspiring creative work. But I love the way you kind of put that together. Of like, sour can mean angry, right? Exactly. Stuff like that. So why did you feel like it was a good, like, why did you choose to do a magazine to define it that way? Was there a specific reason, or?
Because I'm a visual person, mainly visual, and I wanted to show people through pictures all these things. It was kind of hard at first because how do you show smell visually? But I chose that medium. At first, I wanted to do maybe sounds, but then like, how would you show texture? Maybe like a rough sound. But I chose a magazine because it was. I thought at the moment, at that time, that it was the most appropriate medium to use.
There was something really interesting that I read in it because I was going through the video that you sent me of it. And let me read it right off so I don't get it wrong. But you wrote that the rhythmic sound of rain falling on a rooftop can inspire a writer to craft a melancholic poem.
Yep.
And I thought that was really good because what I got from that was like, when you think of like a rainstorm outside or whatever, and there's a poet sitting there writing, it's like, they can obviously be inspired by the visual of the gloomy weather out there and the rain, right? Obviously. But you kind of brought up that idea of like, it goes even deeper than that. It goes even more subconscious.
Every single sense, not to cut you off, but every single sense, like even like the sound of the rain can make you feel sad, or like a really sunny day, just looking at the sun so bright, it makes you feel happy. Smells, like if you smell like I'm into perfume. To sidetrack a little bit, I have like 20 colognes at home. But like they all have different like smells, and you can tell like, oh, this one's sweet, this one's for the winter, this one's more fresh, this is for the summer. They all have a different feeling to them. So I'm just drawn to different things that inspire me to create. Yeah, basically.
Okay, not to go off on a tangent here, but you said you're really into like perfume, fragrances, all that stuff.
Yes.
Have you ever been to like France or Paris?
No, but I want to go.
I'm telling you, if you're into that stuff, that's a big thing that they do there.
That's literally the place.
Yeah, there was one time I went and it was like we got a whole tour, got to go, all that stuff. So if you're into that stuff, that's
where in France?
We were in Paris, so Paris, I don't know exactly like what part or whatever. But
I need to visit at some point in Italy as well.
Yeah, for sure.
The Italian perfumery is insane good, but
I bet. But anyway, when we're thinking about all of these different like subtle, subconscious inspirations that come from all these different kinds of senses, whether that's hearing, whether that's taste or sound or whatever, how does that come up in the work that you do, whatever medium it is, whether it's music or whether it's design? How does that come up into your work?
That's a great question, because I wrote this because that's how I work. So when I'm, for example, creating an album or creating this, whatever I'm creating, I just find inspiration through the things I do every day. So whether that's the birds in the morning when I go out, or just, man, if I hear, like City Rhythm, for example, we were talking about it backstage or in the beginning of the episode. I came up with the idea of City Rhythm because I heard like cars when I was in a light, in a traffic light, and I was like, what if I make a song that reminds people of these sounds that make me feel this way? So I wanted to show people or transmit to people the feeling I felt when I heard it. So from daily things that I see, I hear, I taste, I smell.
So what specific city is City Rhythm inspired by?
Our city.
Kansas City? Okay. I was just wondering. Okay. For some reason I thought I heard you say LA in there. But.
Well, you can connect this is not only Kansas City, you can connect it to any city in the world.
For sure.
I was raised in the Dominican Republic for 9 years. And it's a city, and it's literally, the traffic there is crazy. So all you hear is cars and.
We kind of talked about how nostalgia is your through line. It's kind of what you base everything around. So, like, tell us about like where you're from, what influences you, like what influences you to create, why you create stuff.
To touch on the Dominican Republic, that's in the Caribbean. If you guys didn't know, I lived there for 9 years, and before I came here. My dad's family is from New York, so it's a little mix there. But yeah, my roots are Caribbean, so I find inspiration in nature and cities and beaches. I don't know if you want to get into it, but we were talking about stage. Who's my the artist that I follow the most, and like your inspiration is Bad Bunny.
Yeah,
because he also comes from the Caribbean. He's Puerto Rican, and when I hear him, he transmits that to me, and then he does a really good job at making songs that represents us as Caribbeans.
For sure. So I have a question on that. What's it like, coming from that kind of background and then being here in the Midwest? Is it's jarring?
So different.
Yeah.
There is tropical. There's no snow. It's summer all year long, and then you come here and it's like it's 5 degrees, and then the next day it's 60, and then
yeah, for sure.
Like tomorrow is snowing, and then Friday's gonna be 60.
I know.
Yeah.
We just
How's
had
that?
a whole. I don't get it. I do not get it. But
How's that work? But it was a learning curve. But hey, it worked out, and I love both places. I feel like both places to me are home. I visit the Dominican Republic every other year. I want to go this year, and we'll see.
So you're constantly creating in all of these different kinds of fields. How do you keep yourself from being spread too thin? How do you not let yourself get pulled in one direction too far or get burnt out,
So the way I do it, people can call me crazy, whatever. I just separate them because it's easy to get overwhelmed, and I just work by seasons. Like, used to not overwork myself. For example, I had a season where I was working on music, and I released 2 albums last year.
Yeah.
So one in February and one in December. That's 18 songs. That's a lot of work for just 1 year and 12 months. So that's more than a song per month. But then now I'm working on more of graphic design to grow my page and all that. And I'm working with some athletes now to create some posters for them.
Really?
Which I'm gonna post that on my page later on. But I just separate them by seasons maybe. But call me crazy, but that's how I work. I separate them a little bit, not separate them in terms of the concept. It's still me. You can see my work and compare and see that it's my work, whether that's music or art. But the way I produce them and work on them and craft them, it's a little separated to not overwork myself, to not overwhelm myself, and to keep a refreshing style on all of them.
Yeah. So you mentioned the word seasons, right?
Yeah.
Kind of walk us through that and define what you mean by seasons and what that looks like.
Just how I feel. If I feel like for the next 2 months, if I feel like I want to make music, that's what I'm gonna do. So it's just how I feel in the moment and just being me. I mean, if I don't want to do something, I won't do it. That's kind of how I work.
Yeah. So it's almost based on vibes.
Yeah, based on vibes. Based on vibes, because that's kind of, if for what you've seen, that's kind of how I work with vibes and energies and feelings. So that's how I feel in the moment. If I'm sat in that 3 weeks period and I want to create 3 songs, I want to do that. So
yeah, no, for sure.
Yeah.
So when you're creating these albums and all these different things, what's the overlap? Like, really bring us into that. What does the overlap look like? Are you designing the covers for the albums? Or,
great question.
Material?
Great question. I would say I start with the cover and the concept. The concept is first.
Before you even write a song?
Before you ever write a song. It's a concept. So I would think, what do I want to transmit to the people? What do I want to say in this album? And then I go from the concept to a little bit of the cover and then the songs. I start no order. I just create. Well, since I'm my producer as well, I just start with beats, take my guitar, melodies, whatever. I end up with whatever, how many melodies, like 10, 15. I work better at night. So I see myself working at 2 a.m. in my studio, which is just at home. And that's when I work better at night. So I just every night do something different, and just take the best things out of there. I don't never delete anything. I just collect. And
that's an awesome way to put that. Yeah. Also, I relate hard on the working at night. Fun fact, audience out there, actually, I was up last night writing this episode until 1 a.m.
So that's creative work.
Yes.
But I know some people that work in the morning. I'm like, how do you do that? But
and you know what? I'm so jealous of them.
I am so jealous. Like, how do you do that? But hey, we're different, I guess.
I try to be a morning person, but I can't do it.
Yeah, I can't do it. I can't.
So looking back we kind of talked about like the process of making your albums. So what year was it when you put out both of them?
Last year put 2, and then the previous 1.
Yeah.
So 3 studio albums.
Okay. So looking back at it now, do you think that was like sustainable? Do you wish you had spread them out more? Do you wish you'd put them closer together? Would you do it again?
Yes. So as an artist, you're never satisfied.
Yeah.
So you get to a point where like I need to get this out, unless I'm never gonna finish. Like I'm the type of person that just spends on a song like days and days and days and days, and it's like, okay, I can always make it better. And so if I don't stop myself, I'm just gonna keep working on them and never finish. So I just find a stopping point and release them. In terms of success, I measure it by the. Okay, I don't want to get too deep into it, but I measure it in terms of. Well, obviously I measure it with numbers, but I measure it in the feedback that people give me. Oh, I love this song. Oh, I love how this song made me feel. Like all my friends saying this, and the people that I don't know. It's like, okay, I did good with this album, which I can say that it has happened with both of my albums last year.
I don't know. I feel like that's a big thing that we've talked about. And I know making a podcast is a very different process than making music and stuff.
It's really not, actually. There's thought behind it. There's concepting behind it. There is a producing behind it. It's pretty similar to me.
I guess that is very true. That is true. But our big philosophy that we've been trying to kind of, not even philosophy, it's kind of what we've been trying to learn and kind of apply, is that no direction is worse than direction that's not even necessarily in the perfect right path. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
And so, yeah, I think especially when you're starting out, it's very important to be able to just...
Yeah, adding on to that, I was telling you guys that I started making music with the Yeti mic. So if I never started, like, where would I be right now? So right now I have better equipment, obviously, but I started recording myself with a Yeti mic, and maybe not the best equipment, maybe not the best plugins in FL Studio. If you know, you know. But yeah, I agree with what you're saying.
Yeah, it's like, you can only get to a point where you have this better equipment by starting
at some point. Yeah, exactly.
What you have. So.
You learn and you progress with the equipment. Like it's a path. It's a if you wait until you have all the things you want, you're never gonna you never get there, like
yes, for sure.
You'll never be satisfied, and it's you start.
Yeah, my motto is always like, it is what it is, and that's been something really hard too, is learning to roll with the punches.
Right.
Yeah, I think it's you don't want to be too loose where you're like, oh, let me just put this out, but you want to make sure that you learn every project.
Exactly. You learn from every project. Like let's do a little like concepting here, right? Let's
our lesson from this project
exactly
is not to wait
if you want to go from here, let's say to Lee Summit, you can start walking, right? And then in the path you'll maybe get a car, maybe you'll get a bicycle, but if you wait until you have a Ferrari, you gotta wait until what? Years to get there. So you start walking, whatever that looks like, just start doing what you like, and you'll get there at some point.
Yeah, and I think it's also really interesting, like you kind of started to touch on, was there's two paths, and it's you growing your creative skills and then also you getting better equipment as you go along.
Exactly.
But I also think like at some point that the equipment you get can only get so good. You know what I mean?
True. I agree.
So you want to make sure that you are continuing to be able to grow past
your equipment. Yeah,
exactly. Yeah. So I think it's very important to focus on that,
I agree. I think, skill should always be better than your equipment, because I've seen people, not to call anyone out, but I've seen people that have really good equipment and their work is not good. Yeah. So it's based on talent as well.
Exactly. So, okay, let's go back to City Rhythm, the song. So the reason we do touch on this one is because we don't speak Spanish. A lot of your music is all in Spanish, pretty much, which I went through and I listened to all the songs you have in English. I even listened to a couple that weren't in English. Obviously, I couldn't really fully understand the story, but
it was vibes.
It was vibes. And let me tell you, I loved the vibes. I almost loved the Spanish ones more than I loved like the English ones. But I really liked the song 1111 or 11 and 11.
11 and 11.
Yes, 11 and 11.
That's a song I wrote it in a trip to the Dominican Republic, actually. And there's a story behind it. I was in the Dominican Republic and my flight got delayed twice. So we went from the Dominican Republic to Florida, and then from Florida here. But that flight from DR to Florida got delayed like a day, and then it got delayed again when it was in Florida to here a day. So we spent the night at a hotel that the airline paid for. And so I just wrote that song in there, and so it came out really good. I had the beat in my phone. I always have like some beats and stuff that I work with. And I wrote the whole thing in one night. I just wrote the chorus, and with the chorus, one with the verses, and it's like, whoa.
It just kind of comes out of you almost.
Yeah. In the story, literally the story is that. It's that how I lost my flight and how I couldn't get there in time.
Yeah, and I think that goes back to even like the five senses that we were talking about, right?
Exactly.
Like, it's just you very much taking in what's happening around
and telling
you.
my story, like what happens to me daily. So.
Exactly, yeah.
Yeah.
And then also to come back to your other music, with City Rhythm, I noticed you have a music video put out for that. I watched the music video, it's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Since you are you are a designer, you're such a visual person as well. What goes into making a music video? Are you very hands-on? Is it kind of let me find somebody to work with and then let them take care of it? Like, what's that look like?
So that music video, I produced it as well.
Really?
Yeah. So awesome. I paid a friend of mine to record me. So we went to this studio. I rented this studio in Kansas City, and I just called him, hey, can you, record me for a music video? I was like, yeah, I can help you. So I directed the music video, I edited it, and produced it. So it was all my work.
Like all creative freedom.
Yeah. I just did my thing there. So
yeah, no, for sure.
It's not the greatest music video, but it's something, right?
Yeah, no, for sure.
And it's something you can work with and start somewhere.
Yeah, I think it represents the song. Like it gets the vibes across.
Exactly. Thank you.
Yeah.
Hearing you talk, I've been wondering, do you find it easier producing, like making the beats, or writing? Because a lot of people don't do both.
Yeah,
which is interesting because you do both.
I enjoy both, but I like the producing part, like making my own beats and stuff.
Yeah.
I just find like the chords, again, they tell a story. Like you can go from a minor chord progression that gives you sadness to a major one that gives you happiness and stuff like that. And it's like, I enjoy that so much. You can, like, when you see me producing a song or a beat or something, I'm just like jumping in my room, whatever.
Yeah.
Making a song, like being so happy. I enjoy that moment so much. I enjoy writing songs and stuff like that, but the beat part is the phase that I enjoy the most when I'm creating a song.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So when you have all this creative freedom, you're controlling like the beats behind your song, you're directing the music videos, you're producing everything. Do you ever feel like there's a part of you that's like, man, I really wish I could just focus on the songwriting of it and not have to worry about this? You know what I mean?
Yes. So I used to really enjoy being by myself because I can just do whatever I want. Mm-hmm. But now I'm seeing that I need a team. So yes, I need help. If you produce music, please. But yeah, it can be overwhelming, man. Mm-hmm. Like having to, like, for example, if for every album you create 3 music videos and stuff, it can be a lot. So making the songs, writing the songs, mastering, mixing, and then directing your videos and then editing it can take months and months just to create this thing that you can do so easily with a team. So I think having a team, it's great, and I should be doing that already. I enjoyed it, but I need a team now. So
yeah, for sure.
Mm-hmm.
We've talked a lot about how you personally make your music and what goes into like your craft. And I think something we also need to acknowledge big time is that there's also this sort of sixth sense is what we were kind of calling it as we were writing this episode. Apart from hearing, sound, taste, whatever, the sixth sense would be the audience is what I would say. And so.
He said me that. I was like, you cooked.
I was reading. I didn't even think about that.
It was 1 a.m. My brain was going crazy. So, no, but you have to, when you're creating stuff, you have to keep in mind the audience. Who am I giving this to?
Whoa. Dang, it's a good concept.
Yeah, and so I want to know, how do you feel about that? How do you feel about your relationship with creating for an audience? And do you think the audience plays a role in shaping the work that you make, or maybe just the work that you put out?
Yes, because we're creating for them. We create for people, right?
Yeah.
So I have a quote that I really like. It's great work. I create great work for great people. So it's
we
like
have that written down.
Exactly.
We have that written down.
So I create for people that think like me, or maybe not, but that see things the way I see them. And I'm trying to make them feel a certain way. And yeah, that's kind of the whole concept behind my work. Just trying to show people how I felt when I was creating it.
Yeah, for sure.
Mm-hmm.
For sure.
Mm-hmm.
So as your social media presence starts to grow, because I know you have a social media presence with your graphic design. Do you think that is like, do you think it's going to affect your relationship with your music, like how much you prioritize it, how much effort you put into it?
Yeah, because as of now, kind of explain to us the content that you're putting out now so that the people will know.
Yeah, so right now I'm focusing on creating these reels on Instagram to grow my page. So what I'm creating is typography. I really like typography, so I want to expand on that. And I also like poster design. So I'm pairing up with some athletes that I can't say their names yet, but I'm gonna work some posters with them and post on my profile, whatever, my account. But that needs time. So when I do this, that takes time away from music, from stuff like that. I also want to create a YouTube video at some point, or a YouTube channel at some point. But it's like, where's the time for that? So that comes back to the seasons thing.
When is it too much?
Exactly. But yeah, and also I'm creating a website for myself. I'm also creating a typeface, which is gonna be handy with the typography that I'm posting on my Instagram. So it's a whole work flow, because I'm creating this content to grow a fan base that like typography, so I can promote my own typeface that I'm creating, which is a whole different story. Is the typeface is gonna be called Colmado, which is the little stores in the Dominican Republic, like convenience stores. I can tell you guys more about that in behind the scenes or whatever. But I'm creating a whole website, and it's gonna be around the idea, and so I need to promote it somehow. So
no, for sure.
Yeah.
Okay, I have a really quick question, just as a graphic designer guy.
Yeah.
That typeface, where am I gonna be able to purchase it? I gotta purchase. I gotta support.
It's gonna be free.
It's gonna be free.
Free.
That's music to my ears.
It's gonna be on my website when it drops, and you can get it for free on my website.
Go ahead and plug your website. Oh, I guess you don't have it yet.
Not yet.
Sorry about
soon.
that. That's my bad. Getting ahead.
Soon. Yeah, my own typeface called Colmado. So, yeah.
So interesting. So, if your music were to take off, so like it just blows up, would that shift how you present yourself? Like, would you start to focus on that then? You're like, well, let's put this to the back burner. Let's focus on this.
I just take opportunities. So what I'm doing with all my content and creations and stuff is creating opportunities for myself. So if the music works out, then that's what I'm doing, right? So whatever if it makes me feel happy in the moment, then I'll do it. Like I said, if when it comes, I'll be ready. So
yeah. With that though, do you it's a good thing to make opportunities for yourself that way, but do you ever have a fear of like, maybe I'm gonna accept the wrong opportunity and get stuck in a place that I don't want to be, or in a niche that I don't want to be, you know what I mean? Yeah,
that's the cool part, that I enjoy everything that I do. So
that's good.
Whatever happens to any of my work, I'm gonna be happy with the whatever happens. So whether that's film or graphic design or painting or music or whatever it is, I'm gonna be happy with the outcome.
For sure. That's a great answer. So to go back to your quote of I make great work for great people, I think it's a great quote, very simple, very to the point. But I do want to challenge it a little bit. Okay. So we've been talking about the sixth sense, the concept of the sixth sense, creating for the audience.
Yeah.
And I think you did kind of already answer it a little bit of, I want to make work for people like me, right? So I want to know, when you're making this work and you're thinking about the audience, do you ever get more worried about the algorithm, maybe more so than the audience? Because the audience doesn't seem to be a problem for you.
No, yeah, it is a problem, definitely, because I could be doing more mainstream stuff that is gonna be better in the long run, but I sometimes rather show my artistic skills than the mainstream stuff that maybe like holds me back a little bit. But I don't see it that way, because like I said, I measure success in two different ways. Obviously numbers, but because we all like numbers, but I measure success by the impact that my work makes. So whether that's an emotion or just a feedback that someone just my song made their day, it's enough for me. So I'll make both. How about that? I'll make artistic and mainstream. Let's do that.
Do you think that's I don't want this to come off like weird, but like, do you think that's a sustainable way to build your career? Like, take off your career as an artist?
Yeah, like if somebody's just pure, like, okay, this is like leagues above us, but like imagine like Mr. Beast, right? Like he's making content that's just for the algorithm,
just for
right?
people to click on.
Yeah,
and so obviously he's very successful and he makes videos week after week or month after month, whatever. Do you think that's a good way to go about that?
not really.
Yeah, for sure.
But it's a way to get respected in the industry and to put great work out there. And when you get respect from people you respect, you're doing something great. So I do believe in algorithms and mainstream stuff, and I will have to do it at some point if I want to grow, because every artist needs to do that to grow. But when I feel like it, I'll do it. So
yeah, that's a great answer.
Yeah, basically.
So a lot of people, when they're putting out work, especially like vulnerable work of music and stuff that's talking about like their innermost feelings, right? They can kind of feel like the audience is going to hold them back. Like, do I want to put this out to whoever? Do I want to do this, right?
Yeah.
I want to know, do you think there's a difference between the audience holding somebody back and the algorithm holding somebody back? You know, because a lot of times the algorithm can be like, oh, is this going to be optimized? Or, you know, does that make sense where I'm going with that?
Yeah, a little bit. So there's always this nerves before an album comes out, like literally a day before. I'm like, oh, I should have said something different in this song. But because, you know, it's easy to overshare in a song. But at the end of the day, it's just me. So it damages the algorithm probably because someone maybe didn't relate to what I'm saying, or maybe the song is not what they're expecting. But at some point it's gonna work out. So
Yeah.
If not, Picasso wouldn't be Picasso at this point, right? Because his latest work or his older work at the end of his career were like really weird, but nowadays they're like worth millions, whatever. But yeah, I take my work, I just work with feelings and vibes, and I just try to be me and unique.
No, for sure. I think it's almost kind of what you said is there's this idea of like, yeah, I can upload for the algorithm to get big hits, right? But also I think you kind of started to touch on like taste, like creating work out of your taste. You know, like
Exactly.
you said with Picasso, he like it wasn't necessarily like crazy respected work at the time that he was making it, but
Exactly.
he kind of almost, I mean, I don't know, I wasn't in his brain, but he was kind of seeing like a long-term strategy of, if I make what I like, that will turn into something someday.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So he created a movement by doing that.
Yeah.
He wasn't doing what everyone else was doing. He created something new that later on people were doing his stuff. So maybe what I'm doing in 45 years, someone's gonna like, it's gonna be a movement. Who knows? But
Yeah.
I just try to be unique and not to be like different or anything. I should be doing mainstream stuff. So if I wanna, get viral, but I'll just do both. Like I said, so we'll see.
Do you ever struggle with balancing your creative freedom as well as your self-expression, while also trying to think of what's easiest to market, what is gonna go viral?
What's gonna go viral is not necessarily easier than what I do, because everything has a concept, everything has a meaning behind it. That's how I think as an artist. In terms of my freedom as an artist, I don't think there's no freedom here in this industry. You're always thinking about something, you're always working, you're always brainstorming. That at least me, that's how literally every second I'm just thinking about, I should do this, I should do that for something. But which it can be hard, because it can be tiring, but it's fun. I enjoy it. So it can be hard, but it's possible to just relax, and just my way of just disconnecting from creating, or just being with an empty mind. It's just watching NBA. I like the NBA a lot. I watch NBA. I like shows. I'm watching Severance right now. So good.
Holy
So
crap.
good.
Low key, if we were to get into that right now, that'd be a whole podcast.
So
episode.
well, I'm like the 4th episode. So
I was gonna say, are you caught up?
Don't no, I'm not.
All right, I'm not gonna say anything, but
don't spoil it for me. But
let me just tell you,
it's a great show. It's a great show. I love it. So I just watch that when I'm just bored or whatever.
Yeah.
I'm lately I've been trying to pick up the gym more, just to stuff like that.
Yeah. So it sounds like you're kind of trying to find those hobbies outside of your creative work.
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
Exactly. Yeah. Which is hard, but
Yeah.
Yeah.
Especially when you're doing
Yeah.
everything.
exactly.
Yeah. So we kind of talked about how you take opportunities you kind of take what opportunity is going to get you big.
Mhm.
So what is your hope of if any of your projects were to make you big? Like which one
launch
are you? Which
yeah.
one are you hoping it is? Or which one would you want it to be?
I mean, my dream for the longest time was being a musician. I wouldn't call it musician, artist, I would call it, but being a musician would be the ideal, I guess, because I grew up with it, and that was my first ever dream of being like, oh, I want to be recognized for my music and my art and what I put out. But I would say any of them. Like I said, I enjoy all of it. So, but if I had to hope for one, it would be music, definitely.
For sure.
Mhm.
And that kind of brings us into, we've talked a lot about creativity, balancing authentic creativity with trying to grow, trying to, get yourself out there. What's your overall bigger picture? Like, what does that look like for you? Can you kind of paint that for us?
Ideally, ideally, it would be showing my art in some type of way, so whether that is creating videos or art or graphics for any company that represents me, or whether that's just making music for people or performing at big stadiums or whatever. It's just, my goal is to transmit how I feel and to show people my art, and so show people something they can relate to and something that they can enjoy.
Going off of that, like future goal wise, like do you see yourself growing with your audience? Like do you see
great question.
Do you want them to like mature with you?
That's the goal, but our audience, obviously, it's creatives or
Creatives,
mainly, but there's no age gap in the creative world. You can see 18-year-olds being filmmakers to 45-year-olds being filmmakers to 60. We have that benefit in this industry. So I say yes, I want to do that. I want to have some type of, not call it fan base, I don't want to be, but but people that respect my work and grow with me. But I always want to influence people in all age ranges.
Yeah, I think that's really interesting. Like when you're a creative person, it's not like you retire at the age of 60.
Exactly.
You're
You
a
never
creative person
retire.
in life.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
And
exactly.
you've been doing this since you were 12, right? We talked about that a little bit.
The guitar 9.
9.
Yeah.
Wow. So you've been doing all this creative
Damn.
stuff.
Yeah, and
Since
then
you were-
12, the actually making beats and stuff.
Yeah, like kind of getting more serious.
Yeah, I
and figuring it
downloaded.
out.
Here's my kind of backstory. I downloaded FL Studio, hacked on my brother's old computer. This computer was so bad, you couldn't even like run like anything. You couldn't even like log into Google or whatever. It was shut down. And I downloaded FL Studio and started like playing around. And I made some stupid stuff in there that I thought was so good.
Yeah.
So I like some stupid sounds, and I just started like playing with it and stuff, and I just learned by myself, like literally just learned by ear and just learned by just exploring the app, the software, and it ended up being one of the softwares that people use, like it's the industry standard.
Yeah.
So I was like, oh, that's good.
And you said that computer was just like dead in the water.
It's so
pretty
bad.
much. That's great. So I think that's a moment of fate from the universe. It's like
Exactly.
That
They're like-
ran that.
Exactly.
yeah.
I remember like to export a 30-second clip or something or like a sound, it would take 5 hours.
Jeez.
I'm like,
Yeah.
bro, to be able to listen to an MP3 at that time, bro, took so long, but it was all worth it because now
Now here we are. Now here you are.
my equipment does in 0.3 seconds. So
yeah, for
So
sure.
this can kind of be like a two-parter.
Okay.
So
I'm ready.
So, if you, in the future, if you're still wanting to go down the creative like route, like you still want to pursue your passions, like how do you see that being sustainable 5, 10, 15 years from now? Like you can dive into it like with music or with graphic design or both or.
Money-wise, career-wise, I always gonna say it. My heart says it's music. My mind says it's graphic design because it's my career, and I'm getting a degree on that. So I say, if everything goes wrong, if every single thing goes wrong, graphic design is gonna be there, and there's always jobs. You know, with the industries moving towards digital stuff, you're always gonna need ads on platforms. You're always gonna need some type of graphic. So as graphic designers, we'll always have a job in the new era. So I have a backup plan. So that's the goal, I guess.
Yeah, I think what's really interesting is you've done this great like little build up throughout your life of being able to diversify yourself. You know, you're not just like, oh my gosh, if something doesn't make it with music, I'm screwed. I'm gonna be homeless. You know what I mean? It's like it's like, no, you've got options. You've thought about this. You have a system almost.
Yeah, that was the whole point.
Yeah. So even throughout all these kind of like ebbs and flows of these seasons, you have a structured system deep within it. Is almost what I'm getting from you.
Exactly.
So, yeah. You know, like we said, you're never done being creative. Till you're 100, you're going to be creative, right?
Exactly.
And it's kind of a 24/7 job. You know, once you get into this kind of would you call it a lifestyle? I mean,
it is.
Yeah.
It is.
Once you get into this lifestyle, it's like you're constantly thinking of like, again, going back to the senses. I mean, it's just a great way you put that is you're walking down the street and the sun is shining in such a, particular way. You're like, man, this could be in a song.
Exactly.
Literally, like anything.
Inspiration
I don't know,
never
man.
stops.
This is why I'm not a songwriter, because that was the most basic example I could have given, bro. But
oh my God.
You know what I'm saying.
That's
So,
funny.
Yeah, I mean,
Get him in the writer's room.
yeah. But yeah, so I just want to know, like, being always on and being like that. How is that for you? Is it just come naturally, or is it just what you do?
My whole life.
Yeah,
literally. So I was decent of all this stuff, like math and all of this, sports, but I was always drawn to like artistic stuff and all this, because obviously like I said in the beginning, the quote that my special ability is to be mediocre at a lot of things.
Yeah,
I relate to that because obviously I played basketball a little bit and I played football in high school a little bit. So I have these other areas, but my main focus was always in art and in every shape or form. So it made me who I am today.
Yeah. So before we start getting into the future of like, where you're headed and everything, I want to know, was there ever a point like when you were in high school or anything where you kind of felt like maybe you weren't going to pursue the creative path, or were you ever pressured like, oh, maybe I shouldn't go down this way?
You're always like that. Like, is this going to work out? Is it going to work out? But it gets to a point where you have to believe and trust and your work and create opportunities for yourself. That's what I'm doing.
How do you maintain that faith though? I mean, obviously there's evidence with you, but somebody who maybe doesn't have as strong of faith of like, okay, I'm going to make it out, or I'm going to be able to do something with this. Like, what's your advice to them of how am I going to be able to, get
If you're a true artist, you're always going to come back to creating something. I always say, I'm going to take a break from music, but I always come back. I always end up making a song or something. My advice is just explore other things, explore every category.
Explore what's possible, perhaps?
Exactly. Explore.
Sorry, I had to do it. That was my
God.
Explore. Maybe what you're doing is not what you love truly. So you explore. Like maybe if I didn't know graphic design was a thing until like freshman year in college.
Really?
Yeah, I was drawn to music and film more.
Yeah.
And I was a little bit of graphic design, but it wasn't my main thing. Now it's my career. So it's like explore, give yourself opportunities, and just find hobbies and stuff to do.
For sure.
Yeah.
Great answer.
When we had our first initial meeting, you talked about that you come from like a creative family. But did you have people like in high school that were like, oh, like don't do graphic design, don't major in the arts, like that's not a good idea?
The good thing about my family, they always supported me for whatever, especially my mom and my dad. But my mom specifically, obviously my dad gave me the biggest gift, which was the music.
Yeah.
But my mom was always there, like just pursue what you want to do, and everything that I put out there, she was like the first supporter. She was the biggest supporter of all time. So I always had that confidence in me, and so no one ever told me like, oh, don't do this and do that. I made the choice of what I wanted to do. So yeah, I mean, my friends, my close friends, I guess, they were all like creatives in some type of way, which I call artists a lot of people, because like I was talking about this last time. I think chefs are artists.
Yeah.
I think perfumers are artists.
Yeah.
I think every person that creates something that creates the feeling is an artist. So
Yeah, because there's so much that goes into it.
exactly. So yeah.
Well, it sounds like you had a good sense of community.
Yeah.
We kind of talked about you wanting to get a team,
Mm-hmm.
but how many people are you wanting? Are you wanting to give up a lot of creative freedom? Do you still want to be like overseeing everything, or would you kind of let them like
and
give
if
their
you
input?
work with the right people, it's not always giving up creative freedom, but kinda
Yeah.
letting
I'm
the
strict.
reins.
I'm really strict. So I would say like not a lot of people, because like I don't know, with me,
You have a vision.
I have a vision,
Yeah.
and I like working in teams because I can share and we can share ideas. And I always think that two brains are better than one brain. But with my art specifically, I'm really like strict and really like, when I see something, I have the bad habit of like, I want it to go that way. Like I've always think my idea is the best idea in the room.
It's your way or the highway.
Yeah, exactly. So that's my bad habit, but not saying I'm like my ego is high or whatever, but maybe. But yeah, I mean, not a lot of people, but if I trust you, I'll let you work.
For sure.
Like,
Yeah. So when you're and looking in the future, when you're kind of starting to figure out how to grow your team, grow your process, how do you think expanding that is going to shape your work and your values as an artist?
in my career, as I get older, some things are gonna work and others won't. So I need to, pick one at some point.
Yeah.
I'll have to pick one. So wherever that is, like I said earlier, like we talk about, is creating opportunities, and whichever picks me, I'll go with that route. But I always say that I'll be doing what I do right now in 10 years, 20 years from now, maybe in just different ways. Maybe I make one song a year, but I'm always gonna make music. I'm always gonna be making some type of video or something. But yeah, maybe different amounts and priorities, maybe, but always gonna be doing it.
Yeah, for sure.
Do you
Great
think
answer.
a team is gonna, I don't want to say like change the quality of your work, but do you think it's gonna, I guess yeah,
No.
because now you're not like stretching yourself so thin doing
it won't change the
everything.
quality. I think it's gonna make it better, honestly, because you need more brains, more hands. I'm making an EP soon.
Yeah.
For the summer.
Okay.
But yeah, I'm still working on that. Gotta see, for the website and stuff. But at some point, I want to do something like that. And this time around, I'm gonna have Jesse West. He's a friend of mine. He worked on my last album. He was a feature. He's gonna be helping me with writing songs and stuff like that. I need people that I trust and that I know them and stuff like that. And we'll see how that goes.
For sure. All right. Well, we have reached towards the end of the episode. So, and through this episode, we've talked a lot about making art, staying authentic, true to yourself, and, sometimes keeping the audience in mind to be able to create those opportunities for yourself. So to the people who are just starting out and who are trying to build something that's going to be sustainable, that's going to creatively satisfy them, and who are like at the beginning stages, what would you say is the key to maintaining creative authenticity, while still being able to grow an audience and grow as an artist?
I would say identify your audience, create for them, and be yourself. And whatever that looks like, if you're an artist or whatever, in any category, just create, but be intentional of what you do.
Specific, yeah.
It's specific, yeah. And it's gonna work out at some point. And just create work for great people.
Make good work for good people. Heck yeah. No, anyway, Harrison, it's been a great conversation. I think we've gotten a lot of value out of this conversation. I think a lot of people are going to get a lot of value out of this conversation.
Before we go, sorry to cut you off.
No, go ahead.
I want to say to you guys, I told you guys backstage, but this is great. I love the podcast.
Thank you.
I'm blessed to be, in the beginning process of episodes of this great.
Yeah,
great
we're so
stuff.
thankful that you want to do this.
Man, I see this blowing up at some point. I think this is great. And I want to congratulate you guys for this.
Thank you. So that truly means so much, especially coming from you. So, Yuli, you have anything else you want to mention? Anything else?
No, yours very interesting. This was very, very fun.
For sure. All right. Harrison, where can the people find you? Plug yourself. Go ahead.
At Salcedo Harrison on Instagram. You'll find everything there. You'll see my music. You'll see reels, typography. You'll see my website at some point in there. That's my main source of touch with the audiences. So yeah,
for sure. All right. Well, Harrison, thank you so much again for coming on. Audience out there, if you guys want to keep up with his work, yes, he just plugged himself, but we will have everything in the description linked, everything that you can go down there and check out. Also, if you liked this episode and you want to watch more, make sure to subscribe and make sure to follow us and keep up with us through all our social media. Yeah, I think it was a great episode, and everyone out there, just like Harrison, keep exploring what's possible. Thank you so much for joining us. Had to do my little YouTube outro.
Oh, yeah. Hey, that's